Katie, thank you for joining us today on the Communicative Leader. I'm so excited to learn from you and hear about these amazing experiences you've had. And to start, you moved from a successful corporate marketing career into education because you felt like something was missing. And in your words, fearless curiosity. And I love this. And I'm wondering, was there a specific moment that made you realize that leadership had, kind of become this futile exercise in managing behavior rather than actually inspiring thought?
Yes. So several, I think, along my career. The first one was when I was in marketing and I was working at a bank in the marketing department and a memo came through. I had just dropped my daughter off at daycare crying, mom, don't leave.
Yep.
And I walked into my office and I saw this memo that said, we have a new mission statement. And the new mission statement is that we need to help our stakeholders, our shareholders, make more money, basically.
Oh.
And I went, that is not why I work.
Yeah.
That is not why I come
Yep.
in every day and drop my daughter off at daycare or is so that somebody up there in leadership makes more money. Like that was my first big, wait a minute, what am I doing moment?
Yeah.
Now that was 30 years ago. And then, so that's when I went into, everyone said I would be an educator. I should be an educator. And I kept saying, no.
Yeah.
That is not what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it. I went and I got my master's degree in education while I was working full time.
Yeah.
And my daughter and my son. And I went into education and loved it. Loved every minute of it, loved working with the students. Then I would say the next big aha moment was around 2013, 2012, somewhere around there, where I saw this shift in thinking. So my students who were very curious and wanted to learn more, wanted to communicate, wanted to work together, all of a sudden became addicted to their cell phones.
Yep.
And they weren't communicating with each other. They weren't asking questions. They weren't curious. And then I really noticed that this focus from leadership on we have to get data. What's our data say? How do we measure it? And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, we're missing something vital here. And that's problem solving, being creative and critical thinkers. So I went from that, I was in teaching for 25 years and working on that, working with teacher leaders, working with administrators and other educators to then running a CEO. I'm a CEO of a company, a nonprofit that really focuses in on school leadership, business leadership. We have what I call a thinking crisis, and how do we help that? So there are several shifts throughout my career that really were like moments for me of, man, we're in trouble.
Yeah. I could not agree with you more. And that's what I always tell my students is I don't want to prepare you for the jobs of today. I want you to be critical thinkers and engaged so that these jobs that don't exist yet, you have the capability to go in there and figure it out.
Yes. And I think that that's vital. And if you look at the research and you see that like some of the top skills were needed from World Forum and all, they're saying creativity, critical thinking, being able to communicate with each other, problem solve, empathy. These aren't, you need to know accounting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? These are the main skills needed in leadership and in employment. So, but we're not teaching it. We're not doing that in our school.
Yeah. So let's continue with that idea of this leadership design problem. And I love that you do this work. And one thing you argue that disengagement isn't a motivation problem, but a design problem. And I'm wondering, Katie, in your experience, how have we unintentionally built organizational communication systems that actually punish curiosity?
Yeah. You know what it is? It's the I told you so, or it's the do what I say, don't ask me questions. It's that old school thinking.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, even for educators, for leaders, here's what I need you to do. You need to do it. Follow these instructions and do not ask me why. But this new generation is very much in, we want to know, why am I doing this? Give me a purpose, give me a meaning so that I know why. And so if we say to millennials and Gen Zers, do it because I said so, they're going to shut down. I mean, even my generation, which is Gen X, we're going to say, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So because of that, we're creating environments that people don't feel safe. So I just did a national study about 1,000 working Americans of all cross generations and industries. And one of the main things they said when I said, what is keeping you from being deeper thinkers? They said it's fear.
Yeah.
They are afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid to be judged. They're afraid to be wrong.
Mhm.
They're afraid to,
Yeah.
look stupid in front of other people. Like,
Mhm.
if we've created those environments.
Mhm. Yep.
And I think that's a
Yep.
huge issue. We've got to, it's not about the motivate. People want to work. People want to learn and think. It's just that they've learned not to. It's safer to just not to think
Yeah.
people down.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, it's like my educator heart is hurting here, but you
Yes.
are so right about it.
Right. And
So
I think,
right.
it depends on the age we're talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
elementary school kids, they want to learn, but they don't want to be bullied. Middle school, they don't want to look stupid in front of everybody
Yep.
else. Right. You get
Exactly.
into high
Yep.
school and it's about, I got to get that A so I get into college.
Yep.
And then you get into college and it's, I just gotta get through this so I can get a job.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
it's all that keep my head down, don't make waves,
Yeah. Rinse
don't
and
question.
repeat. Yep.
So we are creating an environment
Yep.
of
Yep.
of shallow thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's shift. And I love this when you embrace this idea of leading like a teacher. So when you tell a CEO they need to lead more like a great teacher, I'm wondering, like, what is the number one misconception that they have about what that actually looks like in practice?
Well, they automatically think they have to grade papers or prepare lesson plans. And so usually I start honestly asking
Mm,
them, think about that teacher in your life that made an impact
mhm,
on you. What was it about that teacher? Let's first go there, right?
mhm.
It could be an educator, it could be a piano teacher. Yeah, I've had people tell me that, like that music teacher or that youth pastor or that
Yeah.
someone that has educated you.
Mhm.
What made a difference? So you got to start there. Otherwise, they
Yep.
immediately go to
Yep.
the like, I've got to, have a lesson plan. 'Cause all the responses I always get is, well, that teacher cared. That teacher listened to me. That teacher
Mhm.
challenged me. That teacher saw
Mhm.
something in me that I didn't know I had. That's the educator part that has to come out, right?
Mhm.
And then I
Yep.
also talk to them about how the way, even as an educator for me, and one of my favorite educators was, I don't, you don't teach the same way for everybody else, right? So what I need for one student, I don't need. It's the same with staff.
Mhm.
One staff member might really
Mhm.
respond to having an extra day off. One staff member might, respond to just sending them a note saying, "Hey, great job." Right? Like,
Mhm.
but you've got to know your staff, just like teachers have to know their students. So once I get over that hurdle of, no, it's not about grading papers and creating lessons, right? It's about what a teacher brings to a classroom.
Yep.
It's not that do it because I said so. It's why do
Yep.
you think we should do this? What
Exactly.
are you thinking? What? Right? It's that shift in mind.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's going to be the next big and nice shift in leader member relationships
Yes.
because so many people are now asking, if we think about the millennials and the next generations coming in being like, nope, that old approach doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a part of it, we've got to make sure that we're open minded as leaders in order to accept that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's not the, kids these days mentality, which I talk about quite a bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is
Yep.
sometimes it's like leaders these days. It's the old ones.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like we have to
Yeah.
reflect on ourselves and be like, well, maybe they have a great idea. Right. Maybe they have a different viewpoint that I've never looked at before because I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, you are right. I'm just laughing because I'm thinking that would be a great study. Leaders these days, right? And asking the newer generations, like, what are they doing that's still rubbing you the wrong way or what could
Right.
be better, right?
I had one really great comment in my
Yeah.
study. One of my participants said,
Hmm.
leaders, they look at work like it's life and death, and they don't consider that we have other things going on. And I thought that was a
Yep.
great,
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. Like we've got to consider what's going on in other people's lives
Hmm.
and what,
Yep.
this task might not,
Hmm.
we might think it's life and death, but it's not to them.
Hmm.
To give
Yep.
them reason and purpose. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's continue. I was thinking about this dichotomy, the managing tasks and leading people. And I know that a lot of times this constant oversight backfires and can shut down initiatives. So, Katie, I'm wondering, how can a leader refine their communication to move away from that task manager approach to more of like a people developer?
Well, I think part of that is absolutely training and learning because many times, leaders aren't made into leaders because of their people skills. It's because of their skill set. So
Yeah.
you know how to create this widget. You're really, really, really
Yeah.
good at it. So we're going to make you the leader now of all widgets,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And what
And
we
guess what?
need
You
is
don't make widgets anymore.
correct.
There's the kicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're managing people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the problem. So we're promoting widget makers.
Yeah.
We're not promoting people and thinkers. And so
Yeah.
we've got to shift that. And if we're going to promote widget makers, great. But then we've got to
Mhm.
train them to make sure
Yep.
they know how to lead, right? And manage people.
Mhm.
And I mean, just like
Mhm.
a teacher goes through training, and a lot of time for
Yeah.
as
Yep.
a teacher, it was on the job training. My
Mhm.
first year teaching was much different than my 25th year teaching
Yep.
because you learn. But I had a mentor who helped me.
Mhm.
I had training and
Mhm.
professional development that helped
Mhm.
me, right? And somebody that I could go to. And that's why I keep saying we don't need all these managers, we need mentors. And that's why we can't ignore the older generation because they've been there, they've done it, they've learned. But you have to have an environment, going back to your other question, we have to
Mhm.
where it's safe for me to go ask.
Exactly. Exactly. And so in your book, Lead Boldly, Think Deeply, I cannot wait to read this. You talk about creating space. And on the show, a lot of times we focus on clarity and on presence. And I'm wondering, Katie, how does a leader use strategic silence or pause to invite the team to participate?
Yeah. I think starting out meetings not with status reports. So, finance, tell me what's going on with you. Production, tell me what's going on with you. It's looking at what as a whole is going on. Tell me what you've been thinking. Let's reflect. How did the week go? What do we need to do? Starting that dialogue. I used to start my classroom all the time with, tell
Mhm.
me what you think,
Mhm. Yep.
right? So you get
Yep.
minds going. You create an
Mhm.
environment where people are like, oh, or hey, I had this problem this week. Did anybody else experience this? Or
Yeah.
right? Instead of it being, I'm the leader at the head of the table and I'm now going through every single department
Mhm.
and giving status reports. Nobody cares because once you give your report, you probably have now,
Checked
shut
out.
off the brain,
Yep. Yep.
right? Because I don't care about finance.
Yeah.
I don't care about, you know. Well, I think that is key to starting meetings is about inquiry. And
Mhm.
partly then there is a little bit of a lesson plan, right? So instead of a meeting being step 1, step 2, step 3, it's what do we need to discuss? We found that in our research too. A lot of
Mhm.
people said we need leaders who are more open to exploration.
Mhm. Yep.
Tell me what you think. Tell me how you would solve this problem, and genuinely listening and caring. So that was one of the things we
Mhm.
really, really heard. Just starting meetings, just walking around. But
Mhm.
leaders, get out of your office.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Walk around. How's your day today? And actually mean it.
Mhm.
How was your night last night? Hey, I remember that you said that your son was playing baseball. How did it go? Like
Yeah.
connecting so that when they get into that meeting, they feel
Mhm.
safe to be able to talk and express their feelings, express their emotions, express their frustrations,
Yeah.
or say, I'm having a problem with this employee. I'm having a problem with
Yeah.
this widget.
Yep.
I need help.
Yep. Exactly. You're right. And thinking about connection as the foundation for psychological safety, because we have barren soil without it.
Right. Absolutely. And we've got to have that exploration. That
Mhm.
psychological safety is just key everywhere, from classrooms
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
conference rooms. You've got to have an environment where I feel like I can be vulnerable. But I will tell you, it
Mhm.
starts from the leader. The leader has to be
Yep.
vulnerable. You have to
Yep.
model it. So I have to, as a leader, say, man, I'm having a hard time with this. Anybody have an idea? You
Yeah.
guys, I thought this was a great idea and it totally flopped. What should we do?
Yep.
If you're in the leader and making it safe to say, I have messed up, my staff will.
Yeah. Exactly. And so my next question piggybacks perfectly because I'm wondering, Katie, in your experience, how does a leader communicate, I don't know, let's figure it out in a way that actually increases their authority and builds trust? Because I think the fear is if I say, I don't know,
Mhm.
then my credibility is just going to crumble.
Right. Right. And I think that's part of that is when I talk about team building. So it's recognizing that we all have our strengths, right? So I very honestly, I always would say this as an English teacher, I don't do math.
Hmm.
And I'll even say it as
Yep.
a leader. Like I I am not good at the financial part of it. That's why we have a CFO.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
That's why we have
Yep.
a director of marketing. That's why we have a
Hmm.
director of operations. I
Hmm.
might be CEO, but I need everyone else to help me make sure that the ship is sailing in the right
Yes.
direction.
Yep.
And so for me to be able to say, I've got a vision, but I'm not sure how to get there. But, Frank over here, man, tell me what you think. It's asking, right?
Yeah.
Susie, tell me what you think. So it's
Yep.
bringing people in, right? A lot of what we've heard in our study too showed us that employees feel like leaders ask for advice, but they already have a decision made
Mm.
that they feel like.
Yep.
And so that's where a leader can say
Hmm.
in a vulnerable but still authoritative way, Right? Hey, this is what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure how we get there.
Mhm.
So I
Yep.
need some hinds. I think
Mhm.
also what we've heard is that people are much more responsive if there's a relationship with their leader. They have more
Mhm.
respect for you
Yep.
if they know that you are a good person. I heard that so many times that they don't see models for good leadership.
Mhm.
And
Gosh.
so I think that
It's not yeah.
it's a big, a lot of the young people that I
Mhm.
from millennials and especially Gen Zers is they're like,
Mhm.
I have no model for a good leader.
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
being that then increases your authority and your respect level, but also being authentic
Yep.
and saying, I screwed up.
Yep.
I need you guys'
Yeah.
help.
And I love those 2 in conversation, the authority and the authenticity,
Mhm.
right? Because I think people for a long time felt like they had to choose. Like, no,
Right.
no, no, we need both.
Teacher training again,
Mhm.
25 years ago. And in my class, one of my professors said, the first thing you need to do when you walk into a classroom is kick the garbage can and tell
Jeez.
students, yeah, tell students that, look, I am in charge. And I sat there thinking, wait, I am not that kind of teacher. Like
No.
I walked in the first day
Yep.
and I always was like, I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm so excited to know you. He was like, no, you have to set your authority right away. Kick
Kick the
that garbage
garbage
can.
can.
Tell your student. He was completely like, that's really what he thought.
Oh, I believe you. It's so funny, right? When you think about, I mean, I have so many things going through my head. So I think like, thank you, Katie, for dismissing that part of that training because we recognize that, even when we have great professors, sometimes they're working from antiquated
What
frameworks.
are you thinking? Yeah.
And how much has changed, right? Because I think you'd be hard pressed to find an education classroom now that would still say, this is your best route in. This is, the best foot forward.
It's more about the
Hmm.
rapport and the relationship building and in
Yeah.
education and now in leadership. Leadership has to change too. A
Hmm.
CEO can't come in and kick the can, the
Yeah.
garbage can.
Yeah,
CEO's got to come in and
exactly.
be empathetic and
Hmm.
listen and be relational.
Yeah. And so I think this is a nice connection with your create method. So
Mm,
I'm wondering if, how does your create framework, and create here is an acronym, to help a leader build a culture where employees feel safe enough to challenge those assumptions, to ask questions, to offer those creative solutions without the fear of being wrong or embarrassed,
right. And that's
all
the
of that.
R in the create. The create method in the
Okay.
R is we have to have environments where risk and failure are accepted.
Mm,
So we have to start with curiosity, with the C and
okay.
curiosity, and
Yeah.
what is the content? Like, what is it that we need to
Mhm.
work on? What's the problem? What's the issue? We've got to recognize that first. That's got to come up.
Mhm.
Then, how do we solve it? But by taking risks, by being okay with failure, right? And then when we get into the E, it's creating experiences. So how do we create experiences together of learning and growing in order to solve this issue that we may have? Maybe it's turnover. Maybe it's, again, that widget that's not working right. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
quality control issue. Well, we
Mhm.
got that. Now, how are we going to solve it with being able to take risks and fail? How are we going to create environments where we can scientifically or whatever try it? We've got to try it. You have to build that prototype, right? The A and the T really come together because the A is what's my attitude towards my work.
Mm.
If I am thinking this sucks, I don't
Mhm.
want to do this and I
Yep.
don't find meaning. So that's the personal, like introspection.
Yeah.
Where
Yep.
am I at my workplace? How am I feeling about my leaders?
Mhm.
How am I feeling about my staff? The T really is that team, transforming it into a team. So I always talk about like a baseball. I'm a huge Cubs
Yeah.
fan. So I talk about the baseball. We all
Mhm.
can't be first baseman,
Yep.
right? It's about the team win, not the Katie win, right? Not me as a CEO, my win. It's
Mm.
us as a company, us as a team. And that's a huge mind shift because so many leaders sometimes are just, it's about me, my evaluation, right? And it can't be. You've got to recognize the fact that I'm not good at being organized, but so and so is really good at it. I
Mhm.
need to lean. That's the team,
Yep.
right? And then the last one is the evaluation one, which is
Mm.
really about how important it is to self monitor, self reflect, how evaluations have to change from that once a year,
Mhm. Yep.
right? I'm just going to tell you exactly how you did
Yeah.
here, and here's the data I've had,
Yep.
but it is an ongoing feedback, which is that teacher, right? The ongoing feedback of, hey, great job today, or I noticed that you did this, but maybe have you tried that? It's that kind of 360 feedback, what that looks like. And really, as a leader, at the end of the day or at the beginning of your morning, sitting
Mhm.
down and saying, okay, what went well and what didn't? What do I
Mhm.
need to change
Yep.
or to be better? And so if we do all of that,
Mhm.
we have completely shifted the way that we are creative and critical thinkers. We're much more curious. We're asking our teams questions,
Mhm.
asking ourselves questions. We're being very active so that meaningful, purposeful work is there.
Yeah. 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 I love that, Katie. I love that you blend when I was listening to you, thinking about blending that together part. Cause right, like if we're not thinking about this as a collective and you talked about the experience, that makes it a lot easier when we recognize it's not just me or it's not just you. But also embedding the introspection that's required because you're right. If everyone else is in it and you're thinking, oh, this is dumb or this is silly,
Right.
right? We've got to take ownership and check it, use that reflection point to figure out what's going on.
And you've got to allow for the dumb and silly.
Yeah,
Like there are
exactly.
times when I have said to a CEO, well, explain my job to me as if I was an alien.
Yeah. Yep.
That
Mhm.
dumb and silliness sometimes can be
Mhm.
brilliant
Yes.
if we
Yep.
allow that to happen. And
Yeah.
that's where we feed off each other. And in our study as well, we found that people said they work better when they collaborate. But we've done so much in silos that we're not being team players, we're not collaborating, so that we're not
Mhm.
taking risks together, we're not learning from each other,
Yep.
we're hearing different perspectives. That's where true innovation happens.
And let's continue with that kind of the ROI of curiosity. So I imagine in your work, you meet with some skeptical executives who are like, this sounds great, Katie, but I have quarterly metrics or reports I have to answer to others. How do you communicate that tangible impact of these thinking skills, the analytical thinking, the creative thinking, how that influences the bottom line?
Right. Well, and it is because you get out, there's going to be chaos, or we're not
Mm-hmm.
going to get enough done. But the thing is that in our study, we found that quiet quitting, that if you don't give me
Mm-hmm.
more purpose, I'm just going to quietly quit. I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
here 9 to 5 if you want me to, but I'm not going to put any
Mm-hmm.
effort in over what I need to put in.
Yeah.
The
Mm-hmm.
ROI on that is huge. We also, one of the things we found is that 54% of executives are quitting their jobs because they don't feel valued in their thinking. 54% of executives leaving,
Yeah.
ROI on that. I mean, they're rehiring, training, getting some, that's a whole lot of money. So
Mhm.
I always look at them and say things like, well, let's look at your retention. Let's look at your motivation of your staff. A lot of times I'll think, well, I'll just throw them a pizza party. Oh, that's not what they want.
Yep. Mhm.
Or a Starbucks
Yep.
card, or I mean,
Yep.
they want to be heard and valued and
Mhm.
seen. And so you get that, you're going to get so much more work and innovation from your staff
Mhm.
that your company can excel. But you've got to give them time and space to
Yep.
do that.
Yep. Exactly. And I'm laughing because I can hear an executive saying it's going to be chaos. And then you just think of like a group of adults sitting in a conference room. Now, I don't know that this is going to be chaos. This will be
Right.
different than what you're used to, but
Yes. It won't be as orderly because there might be
yeah,
people who are like, oh wait, I got an idea. No, wait, I got an
exactly.
idea.
Yeah.
I tell them like put on the table, put Play-Doh on the table, put building
Yes.
blocks on
Yeah.
the table, put fidget, because when our
Yep.
fingers are working, our minds are
Mhm.
working. Let them
Yep.
play. One of the
Yep.
best leaders I ever had
Mhm.
in marketing let us each
Mhm.
month. And this is in the book as well. Each
Mhm.
month we were
Mhm.
assigned to be like the team leader. And so
Mhm.
we bought
Mhm.
in some of our favorite food. We bought in our favorite board games. We played our favorite music. We were able to go outside and play. Like he encouraged us to play. And I talk
Yep.
about recess. If we play
Yeah.
together,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not asking them to come after work. They
Yep.
never asked us to be like, oh, we're going to go bowling
Yeah.
after work. It's our playtime.
Yep.
It was, we're going to take an hour. We're going to
Yeah.
one person in our group was a Scrabble national champion.
Okay.
So we played Scrabble.
That's awesome.
Our
Yep.
brain worked better,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
We connected more. That psychological safety
Mhm.
was there. We
Yep.
got to know each other so that when you did person in a boardroom and you said, okay, what's our
Mhm.
next big problem? How are we going to solve it?
Yep.
We were relaxed and comfortable and ready to go because we just had fun.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that helps to emphasize the last few years, we're seeing research that's showing how restorative rest and play are and how essential they are. Whereas before people would think it was a time drain and a loss of money and productivity. And it's the exact opposite.
Exact opposite. And that's that mind shift again, that attitude shift of
Mm-hmm.
what is it as a leader? And that's where a leader will say, oh, this will be chaotic, or we don't have
Yep.
time for that. But if you don't take time for it, it's gonna hurt your company even more.
Yeah, exactly. So, Katie, before we move on to our last two questions, which is advice and tips, I wanted to talk to you a little more about your multi-generational work.
Mm.
And I know you recently mentioned at the World Economic Forum that there lists that curiosity and lifelong learning are essential skills for 2030. And I'm wondering, how can our current leaders start planting that communication breadcrumbs today to begin to prepare this next generation of thinkers?
And I think that the mentorship is key. Like we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be this sense of, as a senior leader, that my role now is to mentor the next generation. As educators, we always think the best thing we can do is make sure our students are successful so that when they go out in the world,
Mm-hmm.
they know how to be humans, right? They know how to function in our world. It's the same thing as leaders. As a leader, we have to start thinking, my greatest goal is if you, my employee, out surpass me. You become the next great CEO. And that's a shift in our thinking. Instead of it being
Yeah.
competitive, it's collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that is really key. I think one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I've seen in the
Yeah.
generations is that putting generations in the same room, having a committee filled with different thinkers, different ages, because they have different life experiences. So they learn from each other and they feed off each other and their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, many times our middle management, well, we're all Gen Xers or and so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
saying we got to
Yeah.
stop that. We got to bring in different people from different
Mm-hmm.
these different generations. And that's the only way they're going to learn and be motivated. And again, as a leader, it's shifting to the educator mode of
Mm-hmm.
my hope for you, middle manager, is that
Yeah.
you become the best vice president, president you can possibly be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I
And so
love
that's a
that.
shift in the way that we think about our generations. And we got to stop blaming our generations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So, Katie, my last two questions for you. This is the way we end all episodes of the Communicative Leader, and these two questions kind of work hand in hand. So, the first part is, thinking maybe in terms of curiosity or, your other areas of expertise. What is the advice, the tip, the challenge for our titled leaders? And then the second part is, what do you want to leave for employees of all ranks in terms of a tip, challenge, or advice?
Yeah. My biggest tip is to start connecting on every level with everyone. The Atlantic had an article not too long ago saying that we're in isolation crisis. And I think the isolation crisis is leading to the thinking crisis. So because we are isolated in our cubicles or in our algorithms, we're only being fed one way to think and to lead and to do things. And unfortunately, that's limiting our ability to be innovators and creative and critical thinkers. And so I think my number one for all levels is start being genuinely interested in the people around you and asking questions, genuine, and then responding and
Mm-hmm.
stop saying the how are you because you're just going to get fined,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
You've got to go deeper. And once we
Mm-hmm.
start connecting with each other, I think that's number one, because that also comes into curiosity. And I think part of it too is being very courageous on all levels. We've got to stop being so afraid and start
Mm-hmm.
being more curious. I think when leaders start recreating their agendas, and something that can be sent in an email, send it in an email so that when you're in a meeting, when you're face to face, it really is truly focused on connection and thinking in
Mm-hmm.
new ways. So I think that that's really, really vital. I
Mm-hmm.
also think what's really vital is that leaders start to be a more of a teacher in creating maybe that lesson plan
Mm-hmm.
of, okay,
Yep.
today we're going to try something new. Let's try this,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
modeling that so that at the top
Mm-hmm.
tier of leadership, it's
Mm-hmm.
tell me more, right?
Yep.
Asking those questions. Let's try this. Let's try that. I think, when you look at the middle managers and even the employees,
Mm-hmm.
being honest with your leaders, which is again scary. You got to be courageous, but being honest and saying, thank you so much for what you said. I'm wondering if,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
or what if we,
Yeah.
right? So that there
Yep.
is this give and take so that the employees,
Mm-hmm.
what if we, but the leader is open
Yep.
enough to say, oh, I never thought about that. What a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yep. Exactly.
So I think that those things
Yeah.
have to work hand in hand. And where you said the two questions are connected, I would say the advice
Yes.
I'm giving is totally connected.
Yep.
We've got to be open minded. We've got to be okay with different.
Mm-hmm.
We got to not shut them down, right? And we've got to start
Yep.
asking each other genuine questions.
Yes. Yes, that's so helpful, Katie. I have so many notes I've taken during our conversation. I know I'll return to, especially your create framework. So thank you so much for sharing your time. Like I said, I've taken a lot away from this conversation, and I know our listeners will as well.
Well, it's been fun. You get me talking about this and I can go on and on.